it's a people, it's a community, it's a life, it's a heart, it's a spirit.
Parents of gay children say, I want my son, my gay son, to have the same opportunity to come to me and say, hey, Dad, I'm getting married, as my non-gay son or my non-gay daughter.
The heck would you want a picture of a tattoo of $1,000 on your penis for?
You might just need to satisfy yourself sexually alone at that point.
Do I regret it? Not one bit. Did I think that I would actually take it the next step and do it again?
And what goes into their life, how they handle it. There are 12 houses, and each one of those houses has a particular function.
Look into yourself, think about it, and just be whoever it is that speaks to you.
And welcome to Talking About. I'm your host, JC Alvarez, and we're very fortunate to be joined here by comedian Keith Price.
Oh, me?
Just appeared out of nowhere.
I don't know what to hold together.
How are you, sir?
I'm fabulous. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much.
What's going on? What's shaking? What do you got me down
What's
here for?
shaking, bacon? so funny man.
Yeah.
You got a lot going on.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Well, let's start with the basics, okay? In case anyone doesn't know Keith's comedy, he's one of the more outspoken comedians here in New York City, with your own serious talk show that you co-host.
Well, I co-host. It's actually his show that I co-host with. Let me make sure we get it clear, because don't want him to come cut. I don't want him to come cut me later. Yeah, actually, I'm the co-host of Sirius Out Q in the morning with Larry Flick, and he's kind of like the Howard Stern, the gay Howard Stern, and I'm his gay Robin Quivers. Of course, she's making a way whole lot more than me, honey, but
and
if
you
the
are
folks in Sirius is listening, I'm just, if y'all want to give a bitch a Monica, okay?
And you are the first out African American in satellite radio medium.
I am.
That's a huge responsibility.
That's hosting. That's part of a team. Yeah, it's a great responsibility, though. I mean,
that's almost as big a responsibility as this.
Yes, it is. Isn't that funny that this week of first, me and Obama, how you doing?
Oh, that's great. Now
my mom and them very proud from up above. They laughing.
Now you of course have very humble beginnings. You were born here in New York City.
Born in New York.
But you moved down to.
Moved to Texas when I was 6. Well, kidnapped to Texas. Well, if I had my choice, Broadway at 6. But I had to go to Texas with my family, and I lived there for 22 years. I mean, it was a true growing experience. And I think now, back looking at my life, if I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have been a comedian.
Right. So that's where life became funny.
That's where life became funny. Well, it had to be funny, Chuck, because Texas is rough. You can't be all black, gay, and fabulous and living in Texas, honey. I had this person ask me one time, it was like, do you know how to fight? And I was like, I'm black, gay, living in Texas. Your choices are either fighting and running. Clearly not a marathoner, but that's another story. So I learned to take a...
Oh, that's good. Well, you have to defend yourself, especially like in this economy.
Well, you do well. Defend yourself. It's like if I had a 401k that I'd be worried about, yeah, I could see your point.
Now, every comedian has sort of like this thing that they gravitate to in their comedy that they pull from.
Yeah.
Yours is autobiographical. Do you find that your life is that funny that you're?
I find myself to be hysterical. Well, everything I do is hilarious.
So funny that there's a documentary about how funny you are. Now, the title of this documentary is Ebony Chunky Love, Bitch Can't Get a Date.
Yes. Yes.
Which
is what's really funny.
Why can't bitch get a date?
Well, somebody told me the other day, maybe if you weren't such a bitch, you could get a date. But that's not the case, actually. Artwork by Yvonne Mojica. Let me make sure to put that out there.
There's a very interesting genesis about the documentary. It's based on your stand-up.
Yeah, actually, it was me sending a copy of my one-man show, Ebony Chunky Love, Bitch Can't Get a Date, to my friend who is the director, Tristan Renteria. And he's a professor, and he and a couple of his professor friends were sitting around, I think with Chardonnay and pot. Whatever he says. And they were sitting around, and they were watching the show, and then as they were watching the show, they started having all of this intellectual discourse about how my comedy is very relevant on a sociological and anthropological and gender identity and all of these things that they pulled out of it. And I was like, really? Oh my God, I'm so fascinating. Like, who knew? Because honestly, what really prompted me to do the one-man show was I was mad at my father. That was the beginning of how I managed to pull together an hour's worth of material. And what I found from going through that process was, you know, I asked myself why I couldn't find a date. And you know, as gay people, just like straight people, it's like if you know, are a woman having men problems, people will attribute that to your father. And what I found was I was using like my parents as part of the process of trying to figure out why I was having such a hard time with, you know, men. And so with my father, there were certain issues, and with my mother, there were certain issues. And I wound up, I guess, bringing those into the dating arena. So what I did was I explored those, and then the next thing I know, all of a sudden, I'm relevant.
Well, that's what's important. It's important as long as you continue to entertain and bring joy to the masses. So your website, in case anyone wants to know more about your gigs in New York City.
My gigs in New York City and around the country, because I do get to travel. Go to myspace.com/comedydaddy. If you want to know more about the film, I love when you hold that up. It's so Vanna White. Get that again. Get that on him.
So I got it the right angle.
Look at that. Well, you're getting a little shine. I should have put a little powder on it. You know, because of the shine.
If they want to get the
documentary, you can go to Amazon.com, look up the documentary. You can also go to the website that my director set up, Torelore, TORELORE.com. And if you want to find out about me on Sirius, go to SiriusOutQ.com. You can find the page. It'll have listings. It'll tell you what I do, what everybody else on the other channels do. It's fantastic.
And you've also got a stand-up show coming up on Here Networks.
Yes, that's right. Oh my God, let's not forget that. Out Gay Comics.
Just all over the place.
That's the hot gay comics. So I'll be participating in that, and also come next spring, I'll be working on the sequel to Ebony Chunky Love.
Oh, there's more.
Yes, the sequel will be called Hard-Ons and Heartaches.
Well, you know you're welcome to come by and visit us anytime. Because we love having you here.
I get so emotional when you say that. I'm sorry.
Well, you make me laugh. You're funny.
Oh, JC, why? Look, I can't get a date. This is what, because men like this don't love me. That's what's wrong. They want to laugh at me, but they don't want to go out with me. Shocker. But that's
they don't want to go out with me either.
I got me to go, so there. How about that?
Well, you know, that's where self-love, you know, you got to start with self-love.
There's a lot of self-love going on in my house, but shh. That's for another show.
Oh,
is it like a fetish show or something later? I can.
We'll come up with one.
Come up with one. Oh, Comics who spend a lot of time alone.
Thank you JC. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Continued success. Joining us, I'm JC Alvarez, and this has been Talking About.
Hey, to see the interview with me and other celebrities and notables in the community, go to www.talkingabout.info. Go now. Stop surfing for